So the topic today is learning from and what advice we would give to our younger selves, and then what advice we would give to our older self. Um, so it's sort of like lessons we've gained over our years, right? Awarenesses that we've had, and I feel like I get an opportunity to do that a lot because we've got a 16-year-old daughter, and things will come up and I have the opportunity to go. I was just telling her something yesterday, and I was like, I hope you don't. My wish for you is it doesn't take you 60 years to, learn this one. And it's okay if it does, but like, so she's sort of like my younger self. If I go like, what advice do I have for my younger self? And then at the same time, that same advice I actually use for my I'll call it my older self, or my future self. That's the name that some people use. What would you tell your future self? Um, and sometimes we do have the choice, or I think all the time we have a choice. Sometimes we'll use it as far as, what do we dream of? What do we want our life to look like? How do we want to be inside? And what advice would we give ourselves now that our future self would celebrate? When we get to tomorrow, we'd be like, hey, thank you, past self. Your decision to not eat that sugar yesterday really, really is helping me feel better today, right? In the future. So as we have this, as we have the space to make good decisions for our future self, especially based on advice we would give our past self of things that we found that works and don't work, we could we could, if we choose, create, I'll say, more of the life we want, right? So for example, I have done a lot of research on what foods work for me over my lifetime. Sugar doesn't really work for me really great, and I would like keep eating sugar. But then when I go like, what would my if I have the space and go like, I'm sitting there eating, looking at the sugar, and go like, you know, advice to my advice from my future self would be like, the sugar's probably not going to work for you. But then I get the choice of whether to do it or not. One pattern I was talking to my daughter about yesterday, what came up for me recently, was a pattern that I had for taking care. Let's see how I can summarize this. Um, we were talking about feeling responsible or over responsible for helping people see things, or like learn things. And what I've realized is some people don't really want to know. For example, I I've always been a real advocate, whether it's, hey, I'm going to help someone buy a car because I don't want them to be ripped off. I'll help them sell their house if I don't want them to be ripped off. Uh, so like if I find a way to do something better, I want to share it with somebody or with people so that they can help them. And what I realized is like I'd offer like, hey, if you want some help buying a car, then the person was like, thank you very much. And some people would take me up on it, and some people would just go buy the car, even though they like paid a lot more for the car. They just did it. And so instead of feeling over responsible, I need to let people just know people are going to do what they do. Same thing with just taking care of people in general. Like, hey, there's this new thing, this new therapy or new seminar that is amazing. You should take it. And, it's really up to them to whether to take it or not. So I have learned this lesson over and over and over again. And I have a new awareness so I can take it to my next step. So like today, what I was changing for my future self was hey, we know that over responsibility doesn't work. How about we'll just ask the person if they was offer the help, and ask the person and make the offer, go like, this is an offer, you can take it or leave it. And then just trust that person if they're ready for it. And if they want it, they're going to take it and just be done, instead of feeling like, well, if they don't take it, then that means my advice isn't good, or they don't love me, or etc. The negativity I can build around it. So that happened this morning. I offered someone some help, and then I was like totally neutral about if they took it or not. And it felt really good to just have that boundary, instead of like, well, like that string out there, like, I wonder if they'll need it. I wonder if whatever. Like, there's no strings, like, here, this is available. And so my future self today, this was a few hours ago, I feel really happy now and clear based on that decision. So, uh, those are some ideas, and that's kind of what's percolating in me. And especially because I find that with caregivers, that they tend to, like the caregiver type, tend to go into over responsibility. Like, I think I should, if we're caring for someone else, sometimes there's a level of guilt, like I should do more. If I really was a good daughter, or if I was a good friend, I would do blank. And sometimes if we don't do it, or if the person doesn't, like, I don't think they should be driving anymore, I'm going to help them, or I need to buy them groceries because blah blah blah. I need to go do something for them so they'll feel better. And really, so many times it helps to take that burden off when we just talk about it, and I suggest, like, that's not necessarily your job. You don't have to do those things. That person has the freedom to make whatever choices they make, as long as they have capacity. They don't have dementia, significant dementia. You got to kind of do a little bit more sometimes, but as long as they have capacity, they have the freedom to do whatever they like. And I can decide what I offer them or not. And so I offer myself that freedom. I offer them the freedom, and it's a lot lighter, especially for, I'll just say, especially for caregivers, the caregiver type. So I'd be interested in hearing from you about anything you want to share. But if you have like life lessons or things that you would tell your younger self, or things you want to remind your future self of, we'll just open the floor with that. If anybody has anything they want to talk about. Yeah, Don.
Change machine I'm on and everything. All the menus are different. Hello.
Hello.
Good. I've got the mic working. I would talk. There are a number of things like I would tell my younger self. Not necessarily that I'd listen anyway, but I would say thank you so very much for climbing the mountain that I did one night. It was such a peak experience, and that all my life it's still emboldened. It made me bolder, and thank you very much for talking to people on the other side in a cave on that mountain, because that has continued all my life. That's the first time I remember that I very clearly was talking to people on the other side. I was in that cave, and so thanks, dude. That was good. That was good stuff. And to myself, in the future, I would like to remind myself, I thrive on some adventures every now and then. And SEs, do the SEs, and get the fuck out of the house every now and then. That's it for now.
Mm-hmm. Those are great reminders, and part of the advice to your younger self. Yeah, when you were talking, it reminds me of, like, it's a great way to bring gratitude in. Like, we've all been through so much that got us here, so it's a great opportunity to be grateful for, like, the different chapters and journeys, stories in our life.
Nancy has her hand up.
Oh, hi, Nancy.
Hey, good to see everybody. Cheryl, you set me to thinking about things. And I was telling someone else recently that when I retired late. So I was in my middle 80s when I retired from my work. So I thought. And when I retired, I thought to myself, well, now I can just relax, sit back, read books, watch TV, not stress over anything, and not take responsibility for other people. That was, I realized in hindsight, that was what was in my head. And as Jeffrey reminds us every time we get on his call, everything that happens in our life is we have already chosen in order to learn something, everything that happens. And I am taking that in fully and appreciating the choices that I've made. And these are the things that I would want my younger self to know, and who didn't know this, that everything that has happened in my life, or seemed to be an obstacle or seemed to be a blessing, it's all already chosen and working for my behalf. I think that's the big one. The other thing, Cheryl, I certainly recognized your story, because I have the same thing. Once I'm in a assisted living facility, and a few people have been drawn to the light that I carry, and I realized one of the people I've kept a relationship with for the 2+ years that I've been here. And that person never learned, seemingly, I'm making perhaps a big judgment, but maybe as a retired therapist, I'm entitled. It would seem that she was a sickly child, and I would guess that everybody brought her what she wanted, and that she didn't have to, as a child, do what children do to get their needs met and so forth, because it was all provided. And that's story seems accurate based on the things that she's told me and so forth. And somebody like that sometimes is unconscious of what they do, which is try to pull people to them who will do things for them. And I've needed to learn that lesson and make choices of my own about I've had to draw a red line and say, this is mine and this isn't. And it's been a kind of a wake-up call for me, that of things that have happened in my life similar to that I took it as a personal task that I didn't need to take as a personal task. Sorry for my voice. I've got a bad throat, apparently. Anyway, that's my story, and thank you for listening. And early self, I hope you're listening as well.
Thank you, Nancy. Hi, Peggy.
Hey, two things come to mind. One is what both you and Nancy have shared is, for me, the realization, or I should say the respect, that someone has their own process for whatever they're dealing with in their life, and that respecting their process is really very important. You know, it's not for me to like intrude or whatever. It's like I can offer what I'd like to offer to help or whatever, and then just let it go, knowing that everybody has their own process, and that's beautiful. you know, that it's set up that way. And the second thing is, in terms of life learning, as simple as this is, one of the most important life learnings that came to me recently was a simple phrase of, I'm perfect in all my imperfectness. And for me, you know, I've pretty much lived a life of certainly feeling like I need to be perfect, you know, whatever that is. But inside of me, it was like to fit in, to do what, you know, people are asking, to be thin enough, to be smart, you know, all of those things. And finally, a short time ago, I really got, it sort of came to a head where I really got upset and was in that place of, well, I should have done this and that. And all of a sudden that phrase just came in. It's like, I'm perfect in all my imperfectness. And I suddenly realized, oh, being here on the planet means, you know, on the outer, I'm imperfect in terms of, yes, I'll make mistakes or I'll decide this or that. And that's all part of it. And that's part of my learning. So that's been a really important awareness for me. That's all I have. Thanks.
Love that. Yes. Imperfect. As you were saying that, I was thinking of, like, sometimes I write book titles. I think in book titles, and I was thinking about, like, the chapter that I'd want to write to a child, like, or the book. It wouldn't be a title, but it would be a chapter of, like, you'd give it to all the babies that are born, right? And then when they start to read, they're like, hey, soon in your life, you're going to want to think you got to be perfect, and you're going to want to be smart enough and pretty enough and thin enough. And just to let you know, that's coming, and you don't have to believe that, and you're okay just as you are. Like, would that help if we knew that that's the human part that's going to be coming? I don't know. I know the trainings that I did, that I found out, like, oh, everybody thinks this. I'm like, wow, I really didn't need to worry so much about all that. This is part of being human. You've got a heart, and you've got a brain, and you've got eyes, and then you're going to think you're not good enough, but you are. Don't worry. Eventually, you'll you'll find that out. Anyway, thanks. Hey, John and Lori.
Hello.
Hey, um, yeah, yeah, Cheryl, yeah, Peggy, yeah, Nancy, yeah, Don. Um, all of that really rings true. It's funny because when Cheryl posed the question, my first response was, I wouldn't tell him anything. Like it's, like, because everything has gotten me here, all this stuff. Because I was sort of like, and then I just kept flipping back and forth between regret, no regret. And but the question itself was the useful thing, the way, it's like another Jeffrey quote, the way we perceive is the karma. Or maybe that's just quoting USM, like, there's some kind of thing in USM that's kind of like that, like, but
How you
the way
respond
we
to the issue is the issue.
exactly, yeah,
Something like that.
it's all the same thing. It's like the perception itself is the karma, and then it's gone one day. But or move to the next thing. But anyway, I'm thinking, like would I tell myself not to do the stuff that rotted my teeth and gave me amalgam fillings? And I was thinking, like, all that, and it's like, but then those things were great learnings that I share and if I hadn't had it, and then that's like my whole physical existence. Like, the underlying question was, what's the point? Like, why not just stay in heaven? Why come down here and do all this
Mhm.
and get screwed up? But it's like, well, the explanation seemed to be, from what I would hear JR say, something like, well, because the soul was in experience and it wanted to have these things. So then all the experiences become experiences, and by definition, perfect and perfectly set up. And so anyway, those two, that was the dichotomy between the perfection of it all and things I might fix. But I think, like, the core theme I found in terms of what I would communicate is, you're okay. And I heard that in what everybody was sharing. And Don actually kind of got me off on a whole different train of thought, like when he was saying, like, because I was thinking it was going to be like, oh yeah, don't do this, don't do that. And he was like, oh no, that was really smart that you climbed that mountain. And so, like, oh,
Mhm.
that's a different way to look at it. And
Right.
and then Nancy, to me, is always the one that seems best qualified to talk about any of it, because she's lived the longest. So I have that, and I don't say that with tongue in cheek. I mean, that's like serious acknowledgement. Um, and not only lived the longest, but was doing now productions into her 80s, which just was amazing to me at the time. And I never thought of Nancy as being an age. It was like one day she sort of said her age, and I was like, oh my God, yeah. But anyway, I just I I think, like, it would be like, just don't worry about what you hear. Don't worry. You don't have to be that. You don't have to be any of that. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to do what you see other people doing. Um, just be true to that loving that you felt when you were very little. It's just like, and the outer forms of it that you see other people doing, and something inside of you doesn't line up with that. That's Listen to that. Trust that inner knowing. And no matter what you hear or what you see or how much you feel beat up, um, that's just the way it works down here. And you are sufficient. You are loving and kind. You're created in God's image. And there's nothing you really have to do except breathe in and breathe out, maintain this physical body, which is probably in your best interest to do that. But all the other stuff, just be true to who you are. Yeah. So that's my advice to myself. Thank you.
Yeah. 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 I love that when we get to, it's just that easy. When I get to those points when I'm really living, I'm like, why was I working so hard? Oh, okay. I had to work that hard for that time. And now it's so beautiful that I don't have to work that hard. But then there are days that I still work hard. Like, and I'm not talking physical work. Yeah. Thank you. Hi, Jeannie.
Hi, I'm Jeannie. Well, I haven't figured out what I would tell my future self, but what I would tell my younger self, which would have really helped me back then, if I would have, I would like to let her know that things, I had a lot of karma. Okay. So I would like her to know that it's going to get better. And this too shall pass. And one day you're going to meet this man, JR. And, you know, and that's what you're here for. That's what I would tell my younger self. But I'm still thinking on the future self.
Hmm. Mhm.
Thank you.
Mhm. Love that. Thank you. Birdie.
Hi.
First thing I want to do is acknowledge a woman who showed up and then disappeared. Shosh Maimon. I've known her for many years. She went through USM and Insight. She's been involved in MSIA, and she lives in Israel. And I was hoping that she would stay so I could introduce her to you and get some more light to her and her country. So let's send her some light. And I love this discussion. It's really made me think. What you just shared, Jeannie, is really similar to what I would say to my younger one. And at the same time, as I kind of have been looking back the last few minutes, I don't know that I would have changed anything. I wouldn't be who I am today if it weren't for all the stuff that happened growing up. I've often said, like, I'd look at Makeda and I look at the teens these days, even the kids and people in their 20s and 30s, and I'm just awed and blown away sometimes, because when I was those ages, I was like totally asleep, totally unconscious, totally unaware. I was just kind of living my own little labyrinth of life. Here's where we go next. Now we go here. I didn't really question anything. I just, no, I guess this is what I do. And however, with the only thing that I would tell her is I would wish I had taken even better care of myself, my body, so that where I am now, I would be even healthier than I am now. And I know that I'm pretty healthy. And there's a couple of things going on that, as I look back, I think might have been avoided. And for my future self, I don't know what I would actually tell her, because as I look at my life, it's like every year, every day, I feel like there's more deepening, more wisdom, more spirit. Oh, good, she's back. So I feel like, I mean, I can't really count to 77, and there's this cognitive dissonance about my age of like, how did I get here? I've been so involved in my life, and that's what I want to do the rest of my life. Wherever I am, I want to, I mean, I don't know that I would tell her this, but I just love every second and treasure every second, even the pain, even the angst, even the concern, even the, oh my God, look at your face, you're starting to look like your mother, and all that stuff that I've judged. I don't know, it's really wild. I don't have a specific to tell her other than please support me to stay healthy. And I want to just acknowledge you, Shosh, for coming back and being here. I shared with the group that you're in Israel, and I love you dearly, and I'm so glad you're here. So light to all of us, light to all of you and all that we're doing. And thank you again, Cheryl, for doing this. I really appreciate it. And I'm sorry I'm not showing myself, but I'm a bit of a mess trying to get ready for that Insight seminar. So next week, I promise you'll see me again.
I'm happy you're here. It's nice to hear your voice. Hi, is it Josh? You're welcome to share if you like. I can't, you're on mute. All right, we'll see if you.
Maybe you can unmute her as host if you know how to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
I can ask to unmute. I can't actually unmute. All right, does
Maybe if we
anybody,
tell her where it is on her screen, you know, the lower left corner.
good idea. Josh, you can unmute in the lower left corner. You raised your hand, so that was excellent. So I'm thinking you've done Zoom before. All right, we'll just hold the light for you. Does anybody else want to share while we're waiting for her? Joanne.
Hi, I've had this picture of, there's this game where you have all these little blocks and they go in different angles and you're supposed to take a block out. I have forgotten the name of it, but I just pictured if I was to take a block out, if I was to say to my younger self, do this part differently, the whole building of myself would topple. Or at some point it might topple if I would be there saying, oh, this wasn't the best idea or whatever. So that's just was an image that came through. I kind of like this
Jenga.
playing this game where we can continue to build and build and build. And and then to my future self, I've had this thoughts recently about inheritance. So in my mind and my experience, inheritance is always meant in my family to do with the tangible, to do with money, to do with wealth. You know, it's the so that may be changing for my parents, for my kids. And so I'm trying to understand if there'd be nothing left in the terms of the physical, you know, passing down of stuff, you know, then what does inheritance mean to me? You know, what would be my inheritance to my children if this familial way of inheritance has dissipated? And do I need, is inheritance a useful concept? You know, what happens if there's no inheritance in any form and I just like am no more? So that's a thought that I just was in the death and dying Zoom from that we had right before this today. And so these thoughts about inheritance and what would my inheritance be? And the other thought was, there's a part of me that wants to be remembered. So I'm, for a long time, been positing this idea of telling my kids, like, you know, to go to Heartreach and say I passed when I pass. And to that, my preference is that they give an address in some form, so that basically this is so I can be remembered. So I'm trying to navigate inside of myself how much this importance of being remembered is to me. Is it valuable to say that to my kids? And where's that coming from? Yeah, my experience was that somebody was remembering me of something that I did, you know, a card I sent when her mother passed many years ago, and she said she still had the card. So when I looked at that, I kind of had a sense of purpose and meaningfulness to my life that didn't have to do with material, but had to do with connection. So I think there's still part of me that's standing in that wanting to be remembered, and I'm going to need to navigate that part and converse with that part, and to see how much of my request to my kids would actually be outside of their desire to be responsible. You know, if that's not a thing that they would want to do. I have 2 kids, so there's always hope.
You got a backup. Yeah,
backup plan. That's a second. I didn't have just one, I had 2. So
yeah.
So light to that.
Interesting, yeah.
Humor
Interesting
and
thoughts.
experience.
Yeah, those are interesting thoughts. I'm so happy that you brought them up. It's interesting to think of inheritance as as the non-tangible things. Like if there's nothing, like inheritance is often like, well, I've got, you know, $100,000 for my inheritance. And then I've heard, you know, often we'll talk about legacy. What's my legacy as an intangible? You know, what do I want to pass down to my kids or the world? You know, how do I want to be remembered? And it's interesting. You said that you want to call heartfelt and give them an address. Like, what address would that be? And would they send cards to that address? Or can you tell me more about that?
My thought was, if the kids would want my kids to put their address, some form of connecting to them. So
Oh,
that when
I
I
see.
passed and people were reading about that if people wanted to connect to my kids
Ah,
and remember me, that they would allow that to happen.
I see.
So,
Oh,
and
cool.
I'm always sending, a part of it is I'm always sending cards to the people that aren't heart. So that's a process that I do, but I thought then that would allow me to be remembered beyond the limitation of family or local friends or whatever. So it would be, or and letting me be seen in a different, let them see me in a different way.
Hmm. Do you think there's a way to do that even before you're on the heart reach list as transitioned?
Yeah, sure. When I'm sick, when I'm in my sick mode, I don't know. I just in that format,
Yeah.
of course,
I guess the
talking to
question
my
is how,
kids,
like, yeah.
finding a
Sorry.
point in time to talk to my kids about that now. And just to make it a teamwork, a give and take, yeah, a discussion about whether they'd be comfortable with that. You know, I think it could be an opening to a discussion, and I'm seeing it as a teamwork, as a circle that can happen now. And be satisfied now.
Hmm.
Whenever desires are there. Oh, yeah,
Gorgeous.
the other thought that came up was any conversation of things that instead of waiting to the end, you know, the thought that people wait to the end and then they have these conversations, you know, of things that they could have said before. So maybe since I'm not currently on the way out in obvious form, that I could be courageous enough to open this discussion of, are there things you would want to say now that you might be winding up saying when I'm dying, but where we could benefit from X number of years and being alive, where we've cleared that up. I think that there's a part of me that doesn't want to do that. But I think that would take a great deal of courage and maybe limiting how much was said, you know, like just give me one thing right now. But I'm thinking that could be a blessing in the moment. Anyways.
Yeah. I love that. I love that idea. Love that you're entertaining it, you know, just contemplating it. I come up with ideas a lot. I'm gonna decide which is my idea to do, but another idea was to have greeting cards, and to have the greeting card would have like an open-ended question that people could fill in the blank instead of, you know, writing the whole card for them. And sometimes people have a hard time starting, or like, what do I want to say? One of the greeting cards would be like, what I've always wanted you to know is blank. What you know, the gifts I see in you are blank. What I cherish about you, what I'm grateful for about, you know, as a mother or as a son or whatever. So we don't have really control over what our loved ones say to us, but we can model for them, you know, what we're thinking and and you can even ask what or let them know. What I always want you to know is, recently my mother-in-law said, I wonder I wonder if my granddaughter will really know me when I'm gone. And so the question to her was, what do you really want her to know? And can you start having those conversations now? And sometimes it's a little dreamy, like then she didn't think like, well, I don't know, she kind of backed off, like it was maybe a little scary to think about. And maybe what she was saying is, I just really want to spend more time with her while I'm alive, so she'll know me more. So there's different layers, but it came across as, how will you remember me? So it's just interesting to kind of grapple with. Yeah, it's great topics. I love the purpose. You said purpose, connection, and meaning. Those are super powerful, and it's just, I think it's just a super powerful time in life that you're contemplating that. When I find when I'm, for younger people, I think people get distracted more with, what am I going to do for my career, and where am I going to get a house, and who's going to be my partner, and what am I going to dress, who am I going to, there's just different focus. And one of the beautiful things I find as I age is I'm more contemplating these just deeper questions. And I don't know, maybe some people wish they could just focus on, who am I going to be a bridesmaid to, which of my college friends are getting married or something. That's never been so interesting to me, but the bigger questions in life have been. And it's interesting that the word remember has been cycling through my consciousness for the last few months, because I work with a lot of people with dementia. So I think, remember has a certain energy about it. People want to remember. When people don't remember things, sometimes they get nervous. It's like one of the biggest fears now, like, I hope I remember. And so then what are we remembering? And when I say remember, I think of remembering me, like even my past self, remembering parts of me that I have forgotten, or I thought were forsaken, or I thought were lost, or I disowned, or other people disowned, like the parts of me scattered around, and remembering me. So going to my past self, going, I'm so sorry. I forgive myself for judging you. Come on back to the family. I'm embracing you again. I'm remembering me and remembering me. So it's, remembering is an interesting thing. And then when I go, like, am I going to be remembered? And is that important to me? And do I need to be on a plaque somewhere? Do I need to be in a chapter of a history book? What's my karma to do, or what's my calling to do? But I love that, remembering. All right, we'll check back in with you, Shosh. Can you hear us yet? You want to share? All right, we'll go to Karen. I can't hear you for some reason. But you're not on mute, but I can't hear you. Choose your AirPod in the audio section. Going to be our sign language day. How about now? You jump on your phone. A beautiful, loving energy today here. Well, always, but just feeling it right now. You gonna get on your phone or no? No, 1 minute. All right, John's got something to say while we're waiting for you. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, it was just a quick one. Like, I couldn't think of anything I would say to my future self. I hope my future self would be talking to me and telling me what new stuff it's learned. But yeah, so then it was like, I thought, oh, okay. This kind of, well, Joanne was sharing and kind of had the awareness like, oh, I can just, and I think she was kind of getting at this, like, just send the light to me, send the light back to me, and yeah, bless me with what new things you've learned. Thank you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me now?
I can. Good job.
Okay,
You were tenacious.
that was tricky. So, Joanne, when you were talking, I was reminded when I turned 50 several years ago, Cheryl reached out to all the people in my life without me knowing about it. And she captured, people sent her short videos or written responses like how had I impacted their life, or what did I mean to them? And she compiled this, I want to say, hour-long compilation video for me. So I guess I'm just going to encourage you, don't wait. It's really awesome to hear the impact people have had on you have had on other people's lives, and to have that sort of as a treasure for those days where you might lose sight of that for yourself. So that's my 2 cents about that. And I will just say, part of me would want to say to my younger self, it's all going to be okay. And then I'm sort of pondering, like, would that have changed the trajectory of my life? Because I think in some way, not knowing what was going to happen, or struggling through those dark times where everything seemed like it wasn't going to be okay, was somehow important to getting me to where I am today. So I'm sort of grappling with what I want to tell my younger self. Anything, would she have listened anyway? And it's just really nice to know from where I sit today, everything's okay. It's all going to be okay. And everything that has happened in my life brought me to this point in a really beautiful way. And I'm grateful. So what would I tell my older self? Yeah, it's all going to be okay. Life is good. And whatever comes next is going to be a grand adventure and something to look forward to. So I love you all. Thanks for letting me share.
I think you'll be okay with this if I share this piece. So I made this video for Karen, and so be careful what you ask for. Well, she didn't really ask for this; it was a gift. But what I noticed at the time was that she kind of had she watched it once, and she's like, "Okay, put that away now," right? So Joanne, like, what you were bringing up, like, I want this thing. And sometimes, I guess, like, sometimes people aren't ready for things, or you have to be ready for things, right? I bet today Karen would watch that video again and go, wow, that's really awesome. So it's sort of like one thing she'll say is, I'm taking you in as much as I'm able to. And the truth is that keeps increasing. So it's beautiful that you're starting now, everybody, that we're starting now, and that we could just increase from here. Yeah.
Hey, Shosh got unmuted.
Hey, Shosh.
Hi,
Hi.
do you hear me?
We can hear you.
Ah, okay. I'm in Israel, and I'm thinking about the subject, the issue that we are talking about, and I don't know, we are in a very fragile situation here. Every day people going out, and there is a terrorist attack and this, and because I never thought about dying soon or something, but recently suddenly I think about it. I don't know if I go out, if I come back,
Right.
because
Right.
every week someone get killed somewhere, Jerusalem,
Mm.
Tel Aviv, Nana, Akko, Nahariya, Tzfat. So this is one aspect. Another aspect of
Mhm.
getting, I don't know, edging, but I feel that I don't run anymore. I take my day to day, I'm not intense. I don't feel that I have to do this and do this and do this and do this. I'm more, and I'm not upset with myself about it. I do what I do, and if I feel not to do anything, so I don't do anything.
Mm.
And just, like sitting, watching a movie, I don't know, listening to reading, because before I was all the time running from here to there, from here to there, all the time doing something. So I enjoy it
Mm.
the way it is right now. I know it will change, that like I'm fulfilling my battery now. And also I went through a knee surgery because I couldn't move. It was very difficult for me to walk. So it will take like 2-3 months to recover. But I enjoy the way it is. I don't know. And I think it's this age is giving me this attitude, if you understand what I say.
Yes, very clearly.
Yeah, also I returned to Israel because my family is here, my daughter and my sisters, my parents died a few years ago. And now I feel, before when I was in America, I didn't feel connected that much to the family. And right now, when I return, I felt that it's very important for me to feel connected with the family. I'm not upset with my sister anymore, and with of course, I forgave my parents a long time ago, and I love my daughter and accept her the way she is, and I'm very much in a acceptance mode, and I accept Israel. It's a very difficult place, but it's very interesting, and it's my place, it's my country, and I love the people, and I live in the bureaucracy, which is crazy comparing to America. I accept it. I accept everything. I don't know. I'm in acceptance mode. I don't know if you understand what I say. And I
There's a
forgive. What?
I was saying I do understand, and there's a lot of head nodding on the call. Other people are saying yes, yes.
Uh,
It makes a lot of sense, and it sounds, I'm just you started off with the struggles that are there, and you're not even sure if you or your loved ones are going to make it home when you go out, and how heavy that might seem. And at the same time, I hear such lightness and freedom in your communication of you're in this free place. Sometimes it's not the quantity of our days, but the quality of our days. And
yes.
you're sure a demonstration of that right now, of trusting and living, in acceptance. Wow. I mean,
Yes.
if I bet a person would trade one day of acceptance of the freedom that you're having right now for 10 years of safety.
Yeah.
So
And,
although I'm so sorry in one way that this is happening in your country, I
mm,
I hear you using it for your upliftment of really deciding what's important. And I hear
yeah.
this attitude, like when I work in hospice and people come in close to the end of their life, they have a disease that they know, look, I'm not going to be here for more than 6 months. That's pretty clear. And they start living in a different way, making new choices, and it's what I hear in your voice. Yet you don't have anything that's necessarily like for sure this is going to happen, but this freedom and acceptance is really a beautiful place to be. And I'm just sending you the light for you and your family that you're that you're safe in,
Thank
you
you.
know, at the same time.
Since I returned back, it's almost 5 years. I feel very connected to Israel, very connected to my roots. Before I was rejecting it, you know, I was searching here, there, India, America, South America. Right now, I feel like I made the whole trip, and I'm home, and I don't feel like running away from here, you know.
Mm.
On the opposite, I feel this is my place, and this is my country, and I will, you know, try to improve with the way we live here, and the people are beautiful. The people in Israel are beautiful. I love the people. I love the spirit. I love everything. That's, you know, I just hugging. I'm hugging the reality, Israel, and I know it's will this difficult situation is temporary. We will overcome it and become out from it stronger, and I'm sure about it.
Is there any way that anything that I or anybody on this call can do to support you at this time?
I don't know. I say hi to my love to Perti. She was my coach or guru or whatever how you call her. And she helped me a lot when I was studying in USM. And she opened my eyes. And she always accepted me and loved me. And even when I was wild and, you know, didn't understand the whole, you know, the homework, the atmosphere, the attitude of the mentality of the American people. So it's good. I was very glad to meet her here, and I have it in my heart all the time. And I'm glad that I saw this invitation in my email, so I clicked on the Zoom. Now it's like 11 o'clock here at night in Israel.
I'm so glad you joined us, Shoshi. You're amazing, and your country needs the beauty and the loving and the caring that you just demonstrated to all of us. I'm really in tears at the beauty of what you shared. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm glad that you met Birdie, and she's such a beautiful demonstration of our country.
Yeah.
As a representative
of
the best of us, the best of what we have to offer.
And she was also an excellent teacher.
Yeah.
She was helping me in homework and everything. Yeah.
She is an excellent teacher for me as well.
My sister, she's very uptight and intense, and she's like very angry all day. I said, come on, relax, you know, like I'm not reacting the way she reacts, because I'm in acceptance. I don't know. I feel that I'm in acceptance mode. That's the way it is now, and then it will change, and not to take it because sometimes I'm afraid she will get heart attack, you know. She's so intense about what's going on. And I feel that this studying in the USM and MSIA helped me to change my point of view. Yeah.
And it sounds like exactly what we're talking about today, of you letting yourself know it's all okay.
Yes.
No pressure. It's all right. Just breathe.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Well, I hope you'll join us again. We're here this time every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday?
Every
12 o'clock
Tuesday, 12 o'clock.
Los Angeles time.
Los Angeles time. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I so appreciate you staying up late to join us and to share your blessing. It's really, really cool. Thank you, Shashi.
Thank you.
And thank you all. Thank you all for joining and sharing, and it's just been so joyful. So thank you. Bless you.
Thank you.
Have a great week, and we'll see you again.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Shashi.